So I was playing through Pokemon Scarlet and Violet when all of a sudden, yeah, and then this happened. Perfectly normal. And then, hey yo, I feel violated, what? Yeah, these games are broken, but I can't say they're not fun. In Scarlet and Violet, it's actually possible to get to new areas way before you're supposed to. Here we abuse the Pokeball throwing mechanic to clip right across this gap. Now I can get my level 22 Pokemon an hour early. Life changing. Oh, let's just turn around here and, well, I guess we're just skipping this entire section. And now we're Mario 64. Something makes me think we should have learned how to prevent this type of stuff by now. We've got a limited time. I'm on a quest to find the craziest glitch possible in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet before their first patch. From being able to run twice as fast just by plugging a second controller in, the shiny Pokemon's colors getting mixed in with others from your party, to... I mean, that ain't a glitch, that's just sad. There's some serious contenders here, but this is just because of Game Freak not being as experienced with the new open world stuff, and were rushed in development. There wouldn't be any game-breaking glitches in the older Pokemon games. Huh. Maybe our hunt for the most insane Pokemon exploit shouldn't just be in Gen 9. It's actually possible to lose the first battle in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, and crash the game by doing so. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl and the remakes have you get attacked by a wild Starly as an excuse to, well, steal Rowan's Pokemon to fight them off. But since in storyline you can't lose, you'd think that the game would ensure that you get the win, right? And well, yeah, it does in the remakes. In BDSP, if you for some reason make this battle a bit too close, Starly is just gonna run away. Not always in the originals though. In Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, Starly is programmed to flee when your Pokemon reaches the red zone for HP, the 20% margin, to try and ensure a win. Since critical hits aren't possible for this battle, they thought there'd be no way for this weak Pokemon to do that much damage, but there's one specific oversight that they missed. If the player picks Chimchar and you get an unlucky low IV leaving your HP stat at 19, with a combination of a high attack on the Starly and a lower end defense for Chimchar, you've got roughly a 4.5% chance of making this work. Starly's tackle with these stats in place has a roll between 3 or 4 damage to deal to the player. If Chimchar's HP lands on 4 after 5 rolls of 3 in a row, you'll be just above that 20% mark. And if Starly gets the 4 on the last hit, it's actually possible to get knocked out, being able to lose the unlosable battle, which the game wasn't prepared for. Some say it's actually possible to beat the first Pokemon games before I finish this ad, so let's see if they're right. Bloodline Heroes of Lithis is a 3D fantasy RPG where you can create your own champions to defend your kingdom. After some file manipulation, the game starts and alright, seems pretty normal, nothing crazy yet. But Bloodline's been getting crazy though. Ever want to combine 2 champions and have a cooler hybrid to fight with? Now you can do that in Heroes of Lithis. The marriage system allows you to create over 800 different new fantasy hybrids between any 2 bloodlines. The hybrids not only inherit their talents and traits, but also their unique appearances passed down from each family tree and merged into one. Imagine if some other series had this level of merging. New bloodlines are being released into the game every month, which means that the possibilities are endless for you to seek out the greatest hybrid to suit your style. Back to the speedrun, and on an attempt to save the game, there's a reset. Oh, bet nothing's gonna go wrong here, and look, the file's corrupted. In Bloodline, you can collect champions and companions from a vast fantasy world, even with creatures like Minotaur and the fox-like Vulpin clan. They are either the strongest tanks or the most agile assassins yet to be found in this world of Lithis. Each gender of the bloodline you choose has its own unique set of skills that work differently on the battlefield. By participating in the Thanksgiving event starting November 24th, you'll be able to obtain a Minotaur champion for free. Gotta love free items. A weird item I don't remember seeing in Pokemon is the gold teeth, which is pretty important to this speedrun. This item gets moved in this very safe looking and non-suspicious menu. Look at all the A's. I'd say Bloodline has a slightly better looking menu to this, easy to use controls on a vertical screen, and is free to play on both Android and iOS. Oh geez, I gotta hurry, and wow, we're in the Hall of Fame! With 0 minutes played. This game's crazy, bro. How can it actually be beaten that fast? You can try out the game now for free using my link in the description or by scanning the QR code on screen. If you use my link, you know I got the hookup, a bundle worth $20 containing 3 stamina points, 100,000 gold, 100 diamonds, and starting November 24th, as I said, you could get the free Minotaur Champion for Thanksgiving. I'm definitely going to be playing for that, but the big thing I don't think Bloodline is going to be is completable in just over a minute. This was crazy, and of course they got rid of this for the remakes and the other remakes, but come on, something broken like this shouldn't be expected for any new Pokemon game, right? Well, in Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, it was actually possible to break the game in a similar way, using a very specific glitch. The menu glitch obtained after a series of inputs allowed you to bypass any area in the game, including the starting area, and this would be critical for speedruns. By saving here and restarting, you could obtain the Old Rod, of all items, allowing you to perform this glitch 2 more times because of the registered key item slot, and now you'll be able to enter the Void. Running through the darkness here reminds me of a similar glitch found in the original Diamond and Pearl, just obtained in a much different way. But if you know the route, you can actually get all the way to the Pokemon League using this method. But we don't want to actually fight the Elite Four using our level 5 starter, and especially not Cynthia, so we're gonna glitch through one more time, bypassing the guy in front and then the trainers, and then you've done it. Entering the Hall of Fame in just 14.5 minutes. Wow. Funnily enough, this run from January of 2022, just 3 months after the release of the games, stands tall to this day as the world record. And this is because, you guessed it, this feature, if you want to call it that, was removed from the game in a future update. People who still want to speedrun the game modernly mostly still use the older version for its faster potential, but due to it being obviously harder to access now for new runners, it's understandable why there hasn't been too many attempts to break this record. Still crazy how beating the game in less than 15 minutes with no badges, no catching Pokemon, or anything was possible in 2022. If you can beat a game this fast, I wonder, is there any new Pokemon game that you can't complete? Well, Pokemon Legends Arceus may have something to say about that. For a game all about completing the Pokédex, having a Pokemon that you can't catch would be a nightmare. And for a while, it actually happened. Cherrim is a Pokemon with the ability to change its form in the sun, but in the first version of Legends Arceus, this would make the Pokemon impossible to catch. After Cherrim had changed form, users would report problems with catching the Pokemon. After dozens and dozens of attempts, it for some reason just wouldn't stay in the ball. And this was no accident. For some reason, a programming error prevented Cherrim from being caught after it changed its form, which meant that if the weather was sunny and you tried to catch it, it was literally impossible to do. This was obviously a huge issue, and it was fixed for the first update to the game. Funny thing about that though, reports began to emerge after this glitch was fixed that Cherrim now wouldn't change form at times even when the sun was out. This doesn't occur all the time, but it's certainly an interesting side effect of this fix. Of course, Cherrim of all Pokemon had to cause problems. In Generation 5, it's actually possible to do 0 damage with an attacking move. If you're unaware, no matter what, even if you have a level 1 Rattata against the most broken thing to ever exist, your Scratch is gonna round up to 1 damage at least, even if it mathematically shouldn't. But this isn't always the case in Pokemon Black and White. The damage modifier formula in Pokemon is designed to calculate everything with an other factor rounding it up to ensure the result is at least 1 if the attack is supposed to deal damage. It's just in Black and White, this system is bugged. If the result of the first amount of damage is 0, the other factor will instead not round it up, the opposite of what it's supposed to do. Because of this, if the amount done by the attack is low enough, just like this, there's gonna be no damage dealt. Some thought at the time that this may have been intentional, since it was left in Black and White 2 as well. But it definitely wasn't, as it was quietly removed for X and Y, and nobody's really talked about it since. But there's another glitch that wasn't even fixed that fast. Skydrop is one of those weird moves in Pokemon that doesn't see too much use. A 2-turn attack that has you carry the opponents into the air and then drop them all the way back onto the ground. That's gotta be a bit painful. A cool concept, but since the competitive presence and distribution amongst Pokemon isn't really there, Game Freak likely didn't realize just how broken it actually was. In Generation 5, it was actually possible to break the game with Skydrop. In a double or triple battle, man, remember when those were a thing? You can use Skydrop, and while you and your opponent are in the air, if another Pokemon uses Gravity, a move that's supposed to ground all targets, this messes up the programming of the move. When the opponent's Pokemon is brought down, they'll now be unable to move until the user of Skydrop is removed from play. This was wild. For a DS title with no feasible possibility of a DLC patch, the game was stuck with this. If you really wanted to, you could cheat every double battle in the game, even the PWT. Imagine the power of completely taking out an opponent's Pokemon in a competitive environment. Well, we still kinda have to imagine it. Once this glitch was discovered and started to be exploited, the move Skydrop had to be entirely banned from online play and tournaments in late 2010. Yeah, this was just so broken, but thankfully it was fixed for Gen 6. Well, kinda. Skydrop was still broken in the generations afterwards, believe it or not. You'd think with all the spotlight that went onto this move, there'd be a ton of attention put on it in the development process to ensure nothing could go wrong here. But nope, Skydrop still got overlooked. Skydrop kinda feeling like F-Zero right now. In Pokemon Sun and Moon, if a Skydrop user targets a Pokemon using Spiky Shield and their HP reduces to 0 due to Spiky Shield's damaging effect, the user won't faint. Their HP will be 0 and everything, but their model still remains in the next turn, even though their status disappears. This was crazy, having a fainted Pokemon still be on the field in a modern generation. So crazy that it was forced to be patched out from the game. But this may have been the last straw for Skydrop. Between these glitches, another graphical glitch making Mimikyu disappear when it holds a red card after being hit by the move for some reason, all the wonky programming that needed to be done to get it to work with more complex moves like Follow Me, Rage Powder, Fake Out, and more. Like, could you imagine having to think about all these scenarios? It was eventually booted from the series in Generation 8. Do you miss Skydrop? I think asking did you even remember it was a thing is probably a better question. But one move that Gen 8 definitely didn't scrap was Fairy Lock, which caused some pretty big problems early on. Fairy Lock is a pretty obscure move introduced in Generation 6. Obscure because, well, it can only be used by Klefki, and most Klefki wouldn't even run it competitively anyway. But it's basically a trapping move. Any non-ghost type on the other side of the field won't be able to switch out upon use. Seems pretty standard, like Mean Look, Block, and whatnot, it's just Klefki wasn't in Sword and Shield at launch. But Fairy Lock was. Yeah. Klefki later got added as DLC, and was clearly planned for it for them to put this move in the game and not give it to any other Pokemon. It's just the animation for Fairy Lock wasn't designed to work for any Mon other than Klefki. This wouldn't be good. But I mean, the only way to get a Pokemon to use it would be through hacking, right? It won't affect regular gameplay. Well, that would have been the case if Metronome didn't exist. Yes, they actually programmed Fairy Lock to be callable by Metronome, a move that can pretty much use any move in the game. But they did this when the move itself wasn't programmed to work for any Pokemon currently in the game. Man, you know this is some real big brain stuff right here. In Link battles where battle animations are mandatory, both players' games would crash after it was used. This was pretty game-breaking, and it was quietly fixed for the version 1.1.1 patch. Man, you'd hate losing these ranked points on this, huh? One of the craziest glitches in Pokemon history has been referred to as Acid Rain. In Generation 4, there's a broken weather mechanic that can allow for multiple weather patterns to occur at the same time, which obviously isn't supposed to happen. Think if this was in Gen 3, the whole plot would just be solved. Groudon and Kyogre got nothing to fight over anymore. Occurring in Platinum and Heart Gold Soul Silver, if an effect like Trick Room, Gravity, or any weather except for rain is in effect, and a player uses Pursuit knocking out a Pokemon that's being switched out, Acid Rain will be activated. And it changes everything. After sending out their next Pokemon, all 4 types of weather will be occurring at once until the end of the battle. Some weird things will occur now though. Even if the Pokemon is normally immune to the type of weather due to its typing, like Ice types and Hail for example, they'll still accumulate damage 4 times each turn. With this message, the Pokemon is being hurt by its ability. Crazy. So many questions here. First, why is it only in the newer Gen 4 games and actually not in Diamond and Pearl? The much more broken of the bunch? Well, after putting it to the test, if you're battling in those games against someone using Platinum or Heart Gold Soul Silver, the glitch will still occur. So I guess they're not entirely safe. What happens if Cast Form is sent out here? The Pokemon's signature ability is to change its form based on the current weather type. Do we get a crazy cool new glitched Acid Rain form of Cast Form? Well, no. But due to all 4 weather types technically being in play here, Cast Form will constantly change through all of its forms, cycling through them, locking the battle indefinitely. Man, if stall players only knew about this strat. How would this affect competitive play though? I mean, with some of the scenarios we cover, you can admit it's a pretty difficult setup, but having Weather Up while Pursuit gets a KO is definitely not that uncommon, unlike now where Pursuit doesn't even exist. Through competitive singles Smogon rules, Acid Rain isn't present in the metagame, effectively being erased from existence. But that didn't stop some players from asking for an Acid Rain metagame even till this day. Seems like all hell would break loose, but it'd definitely heat things up. Get it? Heat, cause acid, never mind. It would be neat to see an official Acid Rain weather type added eventually though. Maybe it could help out the poison types a little bit. Either way though, I gotta say this is up there for one of the craziest glitches in Pokemon history. But who knows what'll get discovered next. Hey, there's Jigglypuff and goodbye then.